Happy Batman Day, my loyal Dragonites, and welcome back to the Dragon Den. I'm KingofDragons 5000, and today we have another action figure review. Today we'll be taking a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Batman and Spawn. And so here we have Batman and Spawn posed and out of the packaging, but before we have a look at the figures, let's run through their accessories. Batman does come with 2 pairs of hands as well as his oversized batarang. And Spawn only comes with his giant sword. We also get this really nice backdrop as well as a stand for holding the backdrop. Other than that, we don't get anything else with Batman or Spawn, so with that out of the way, let's move on to their details. Holy 90s nostalgia Batman, these 2 figures do a really good job of representing the comic books in the 90s. Batman has on his classic 90s bat suit, and Spawn just screams McFarlane's early 90s design. Each of these characters looks fantastic here in action figure form, so let's actually take a look at Batman first. If there was ever a McFarlane Batman head sculpt, this is the one that absolutely screams McFarlane. The grimacing face looks amazing, and I'm actually surprised that this Batman has yellow eyes. The cowl looks fantastic, and being a 90s Batman, he has giant bat ears. They are nice, sharp, and pointy, and they do a really good job of representing Batman from the 90s. As far as his body goes, he is utilizing that 3 Jokers / Hush Batman body build. I absolutely love the classic oval for his bat emblem, and it looks fantastic here. And he is wearing a very dark gray undersuit, which looks fantastic. And because it uses the 3 Jokers body mold, it has a lot of nice wrinkles in the design. He is using the Hush Batman arm, so you can tell that it has that really 90s look to it. And because this is McFarlane 90s Batman, he is super edgelord with a giant side spikes coming out of his gloves. Unfortunately, there is no sculpted line separating the glove from his gauntlets, and one of the spikes is actually coming out of the suit itself. And because it's 90s Batman, he has on his yellow utility belt. And being from the 90s, he is wearing his black trunks. We continue on to his legs, where he has these really muscular legs that we've seen on the Hush Batman. The gray is done really nicely and matches the rest of the figure perfectly. Then we go on to his boots, which have that traditional Batman point at the top. Unlike his gloves, the boots are nicely sculpted and they are done in black plastic. They are rather plain, but it is accurate to the 90s Batman. And McFarlane, being the edgelord that he is, he gave Batman a very impressive cape. The cape does have those shoulder spikes, which looks nice, and it does drape across Batman's shoulders nicely. The cape is also sculpted perfectly, with folds and wrinkles everywhere you would expect, and the scallops on his cape are done nicely as well. And McFarlane couldn't help himself, he sculpted the cape coming to the front of the figure as well. Moving on to Spawn, we have an absolutely perfectly sculpted Spawn head. His mask is done perfectly, with the white parts of his mask sculpted and painted perfectly. His green eyes do a good job piercing through the darkness, and we have some black around those eyes as well. This has to be one of McFarlane's better Spawn head sculpts, because it is absolutely perfect. Moving on to the rest of the figure, the body on Spawn is also sculpted perfectly as well. Being the brainchild of Todd McFarlane himself, it's no wonder that Spawn is perfectly sculpted here. And he has some really good musculature on his costume. The white stripes on his costume are not only painted, but they're also sculpted. Spawn's arms are asymmetrical, with his left arm having this really nice armband on his bicep. And on his left forearm, we also have this really nice gauntlet with some painted spikes on it. His right arm is rather plain until you get onto his gauntlet. His red gauntlet is very nice, and it is pretty big going off his arm as well. And we have sculpted silver spikes on his gauntlet as well. And on both of his hands we have this really nice band with some silver spikes on it. Spawn is wearing his traditional silver skull belt with chains going on its side. Unfortunately, it's just plastic chains, but they are sculpted wonderfully. And the legs are done really nicely, with the top parts of his legs being from the Mortal Kombat Spawn. Being a 90s character, Spawn is wearing some pouches on his left thigh. And just like with his arms, his feet are very asymmetrical, with his right leg having this giant boot which is sculpted perfectly, and I absolutely love the silver spikes on this as well. Then we have 2 spiked red bands going across his left ankle. We also do have a red spike band going across his left foot. Finally, taking a look at Spawn's cape, it is perfect for what you expect McFarlane to do. It has that very big collar piece which you would expect, and I absolutely love the way it folds and bends. He has the spiked cape shoulders which look very good on the figure, and he has his skull brooch as well. And the detailing on his cape is perfect. It actually looks like a living flowing cape, with parts flying here and there, and the way it drapes on the floor, it's perfect for Spawn. So overall, some impressive detailing here on Batman and Spawn, with Spawn probably getting the most detail out of the two. These two look great together, but how do they look with the rest of your collection? Well, let's get them posed to our usual suspects. Here we have Batman and Spawn posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and DC Multiverse Superman. Mattel's WWE Elite Series and Mezco's 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. The Lightning Collection White Ranger and the Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have Batman posed next to the Three Jokers Batman and the Hush Batman. And finally, here we have Spawn posed next to several of the McFarlane Mortal Kombat Spawn figures. As you'd expect, these guys are not quite 1/12 scale, but they do fit perfectly in with your McFarlane collection. With their comparisons out of the way, let's actually move on to their articulation, starting with Batman. Batman has a ball joint in the neck, ball sockets in his shoulders, arms go out to the side and would do a full 360. He has bicep swivel and double hinged elbows. Swivel hinge at his wrists. Ball joints in his upper torso and in his lower torso. Legs do kick forward, go back, out to the side and have a thigh swivel. Double bend at his knee. Ball hinge in the ankle and finally a toe hinge. Moving on to Spawn, he has a double ball joint in his head. Ball sockets in his shoulders. Arms would go out to the side and would do a full 360. Swivel at his bicep and a double hinged elbow. Swivel hinge at his wrists. Ball joints in his upper torso and in his lower torso. Legs kick forward, go back, out to the side and have a thigh swivel. Double bend in his knee. Ball hinge in the ankle and finally a toe hinge. So they do have the same articulation points you would expect out of a McFarlane figure, but one thing to note is that they do have limited articulation in some spots. Their shoulders are very limited due to their capes, and just looking at Spawn you can tell that some of his articulation is hampered by his design. But overall they are great looking figures, so with that out of the way, let's get them posed for my final thoughts. The McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman and Spawn is a very impressive set indeed. McFarlane has done a really good job capturing the 90s feel for both Batman and Spawn. I absolutely love how dark Batman's suit is. It is a very good reflection of 90s Batman. And reusing the Three Jokers Batman is a very nice touch here. With Spawn getting the most detail out of the two, I think he's a very good figure and perfect for McFarlane toys. And because he is Todd's brainchild, it's no wonder that this figure got a lot of care and detail put into it. Unlike other McFarlane figures, their capes are done in this very heavy plastic, and it does make posing them rather difficult. Though Batman is only limited in his shoulders going up, Spawn is very limited in his shoulders going in every direction. From what I've been told, this Spawn is a reissue from the Throne Room Spawn, but having the cape on him makes him look like a completely different figure. Add to it the very impressive wash throughout his cape is perfect for Spawn, so it's really hard to fault the figure due to his articulation. Articulation junkies might have an issue with both these figures, but if you love detail, these two figures are perfect for you. If you're a fan of both Batman and Spawn, definitely pick this set up because it is a love letter to both the characters from the 90s. So with that being said, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and check out all my other DC Multiverse videos as well as all my other Spawn videos. Check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, videos, recent pickups, and as always, ring that bell so you never miss another video. And until next time, my fellow Dragonites coming from the Dragon Den, I'm KingofDragons 5000 reminding you to redesign, rebuild, and reclaim. Have a wonderful Batman day, and I'll see you guys next time.